Welcome, everybody. Thank you so much for coming. Just to kick us off, welcome to Nikki. Hey, Nikki. Nikki is the director of the new XPRIZE $100 million carbon removal, which you'll be hearing more about. Hey, Nikki. And hey to Paul. Paul is the site lead of Creative Destruction Labs Vancouver and the Assistant Dean of Innovation at the UBC Saunders School of Business. Welcome to you both, and welcome to all of you who are joining here today to hear more about the new AirMiners Launchpad in partnership with XPRIZE and Creative Destruction Lab. So we're all here today, and that's the three of us that are going to be sharing, but also that all of you. We're all here today to figure out how to pull gigatons of carbon dioxide from the atmosphere. It's a huge challenge. We can point at these things. A lot of people say that these technologies are unproven, that these things might never scale. And to that, I think about one of the biggest challenges that's faced humanity recently. It's COVID over the last year. You know, when the COVID virus was first discovered, the genome of it was sequenced in days, and that was something that the world had never moved that fast before. And in the coming weeks, we heard later that a draft for a vaccine was sketched out. And in the weeks and months that followed, scientists and engineers and doctors, federal governments and local communities came together to design, manufacture, and deliver millions of vaccines into the arms of people all around the world. And so we need to do the same thing for carbon removal. And that's why I'm here today to proudly introduce the AirMiners Launchpad. About a year ago, I started working with Rodney Payne, who's a founding partner of Creative Destruction Lab Climate, and he works with Paul. And we wanted to figure out, how can AirMiners have the most possible impact on carbon removal? And so as we looked across the industry, we interviewed so many of you who are in the audience. We interviewed scientists and engineers, investors and inventors, people running accelerators. And we took a step back and analyzed what we saw. We saw that the biggest corporate players were investing and inviting people to apply for funds. We saw entrepreneurs like Bill Gross talking about trillion-dollar opportunities. We saw scientists and engineers and inventors sketching new ideas for solutions, everything from seaweed to direct air capture to nuclear power. And what we saw across all those, but all these people were so passionately driven by pulling carbon from the air. And so we asked ourselves, how do we enable more of this massive impact that we need? It was happening organically, but how do we 10x, how do we 100x, how do we 1000x what's happening? So as you know, a few months ago, we announced an accelerator. We were working on an accelerator to formalize and systematize all this organic activity. So we wanted to see, how do we create more entrepreneurs and teams and ventures and help them get out into the world? And so we've been working with Paul, who you're going to hear more from soon, on the design of our program. And then a few weeks ago, we got connected to XPRIZE as they were setting up their new carbon removal prize. And so today what we're announcing is a collaboration between the three organizations. So AirMiners is officially working with Creative Destruction Lab to design the program so that we can support all the applicants and competitors in the XPRIZE competition. So if you're an entrepreneur or a scientist or a startup, go check out the website for Launchpad. It's launchpad.airminers.org. And you've now got these three organizations that are fully backing your progress. So together through this Launchpad, we really want to supercharge companies to do something really critical for humanity, which is pull carbon from the air. So with that said, in addition to the Launchpad program, we plan to invest directly into this industry. We are hiring a fund lead who's passionate about carbon removal as we set up the investment fund. And we're working with early LPs to invest into early stage carbon removal startups. So if this sounds like you, please feel free to reach out. We've got a fund tab on the Launchpad website. And so with that said, I'd love to turn over to Nikki and Paul to talk more about how this came together and what the Launchpad can help you with. So with that, Nikki, I'd like to ask you the first question. You know, XPRIZE is this powerhouse organization. It's taken on big challenges. Carbon removal seems very much in line with that. Can you tell us just a bit about XPRIZE as an organization and why it exists?
Sure. Hey, Tito. Hey, everyone. It's always nice to be at an AirMiner event. We're really excited about the new partnership. I think we've been active members in this community for a long time under our NRG COSIA Carbon XPRIZE, and then now are very excited to kind of be here with a new mission and mandate and the funding behind the XPRIZE Carbon Removal. So just a little background on XPRIZE. We've been around as a foundation about 20 years. We're based in Los Angeles. Our mission is to run incentive prize competitions to solve some of the world's biggest challenges. Obviously, climate change is at the top of that list, and we're really happy to have kind of a whole energized group of people in AirMiners who are focused specifically on carbon removal and all of the different ways that that can happen and what that means. XPRIZE in general, we've kind of had a history of running prizes in a lot of different spaces, including the Ansari XPRIZE, which was our very first one, which really launched the private space industry. We've branched out, we work across a number of domains now, really trying to kind of hone in on 3 higher level areas, which is exploration, equity, and environment. So that is kind of the new XPRIZE structure. Within that, we kind of work across a number of things. You know, we have a handful of prizes called Rapid Reskilling, which is really about trying to get people reskilled and all of the crazy unemployment turmoil that we've experienced the last few years. We've had some health prizes in design. We're hoping to launch a big one in that space later on, but we'll see kind of where that goes. And then we also have prizes around rainforest, conservation mapping, and trying to bring drone technology into that. We've had a history of work on the ocean space. We had an ocean mapping prize. We did an ocean acidification monitoring prize a few years ago. So a lot of things in the environment space for sure. Our most recent prize that we launched is called Feeding the Next Billion, which is really around the kind of meatless meats industry. And, you know, they're looking at other kind of food systems prizes. So definitely intersections across all of these topics, regenerative agriculture, all of the things that, you know, we're going to see coming into carbon removal. It's a nice way to tie together a lot of the work that we're doing. I think in total, we've awarded over $100 million in prizes so far. And we just awarded the NRG COSIA Carbon XPRIZE last week, which was a $20 million prize over 5 years. And we kind of awarded that money in tranches, similar to how we'll be doing that for XPRIZE Carbon Removal. So yeah, excited to be here. And, you know, this is what XPRIZE is all about, driving innovation, really trying to bring exponential technology to bear on big problems. And I think we're kind of really looking forward to seeing how we can help with this space specifically.
That is awesome. I always love hearing about all the successes of the XPRIZE model. It's I think I first heard about it back in the tricorder XPRIZE to build a medical device that could scan anybody and figure out what was wrong, and just so many cool things happening that the XPRIZE is doing. Cool. Well, that probably leads us to Paul. Paul, can you tell us a bit about Creative Destruction Lab as an organization? Take it away.
Sure, thanks Tito, thanks Nikki. Yeah, look, many of you may know about Creative Destruction Lab. It's been around 9 years now, started by a good friend and colleague of mine, Ajay Agrawal in Toronto. And it was really trying to fill a gap to help ambitious deep tech founders, often first-time founders, build massively scalable businesses that could have a positive impact on society. And it's really this translational gap from lab to getting a business started. It's so hard and many people fail. And so deliberately at that kind of early stage, and mainly for first-time founders. Sometimes we have repeat founders. And so we don't provide physical space. We don't charge fees. We don't take equity. People think that's strange. I mean, we're a non-profit. We have donors and corporate partners who kind of support us. And then we just focus on quality. We take the best ventures from around the world that we can. And it's really think of it as a marketplace for judgment. We're trying to help first-time scientific founders who've got 1,000 things that are screaming at them to be done, establish focus. And so we work on what are the 3 most important things to focus on in an 8-week sprint that can help you actually get traction and de-risk your embryonic business. And so this idea of de-risking and meeting once every 8 weeks with having a matching to expert mentors who've been operators, who've built deep technology businesses, and who invest in them. And so the intent is to set direction, trajectory and momentum, and establish kind of some initial funding. And there's a lot of different focus streams at CDL, in AI, in blockchain, in health, etc. And this last year, we launched a health stream here in Vancouver, and with our partner site in Paris. I was on a call yesterday managing ventures virtually in Paris, but with ventures from Singapore and Sweden and beyond. And so it really is a global reach. And I'm glad to say our partners at Oxford University will also launch a climate stream this coming year, this fall. And we got four sub theses, and one of them is around carbon and in particular carbon removal. So maybe I'll stop at that point, Tito.
Yeah, that's terrific. It's wonderful to hear more about CDL. It's a great program. Can you talk a little bit more about Creative Destruction Lab's climate? So that's how we got connected to our now mutual friend Rodney Payne. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, look, there are 4 sub-theses that we look at. I mean, briefly, and these are fairly, I think, predictable for those who are thoughtful in the space. One's around kind of reducing greenhouse gases, so clean energy. One's kind of around areas of ecology, so agriculture, aquaculture, ecosystem kind of protection. One's around industrial innovation themes, so kind of transportation, buildings, resource extraction, etc., and manufacturing. And then the 4th one is around carbon, both kind of capture and sequestration and removal. And I think that's been a kind of a key refocus in the collaboration with yourself and Nikki and XPRIZE is saying we don't actually, this year we have had no businesses in CDL around carbon removal. Next year we want some, the following year we want a lot. All right, and so this is about trying to create an industry in carbon removal. And so the way I think about it, and I think what I got excited about in the collaboration with AirMiners and XPRIZE is there's a lot of talented, passionate people that want to have an impact on the climate crisis and to focus around carbon removal. We all know that we need to get about 50 gigatons out of the air, kind of, and so you look at things like Breakthrough Energy Ventures. Their investment threshold is, can you remove half a gigaton? Otherwise, we won't look at you. You look at the XPRIZE kind of threshold is remove a gigaton. So we need hundreds of companies doing this, and so this is about a movement. The passionate community is anchored in AirMiners, and people need help along the way to be successful. And so that's what I see us doing, starting now, but over the next 4 years.
I love that. Yep, we're building that new industry. It only grows from here, and yeah, really great to be working with you, Paul, on this. Great to be working with you too, Nikki. Could you tell us a bit more about the details of for this new prize? It is in carbon removal. Can you tell us a bit about it? For anybody who hasn't heard about it, I think everybody here probably has heard, but in case you haven't, here is the director to tell you.
Thanks, Tito. Yeah, so we officially launched the XPRIZE Carbon Removal last week on Earth Day. So we're excited that it's out in the world and we're able to share more information about it now in all kinds of spaces and communities of people who might be interested in participating. So at a high level, it's a $100 million competition that's going to run for 4 years. We have divided it into 2 phases. The first phase is really year one of the competition, and our mandate is also to try and get money out the door quickly to help companies scale and kind of build a trajectory to field demonstrations, which is what we all want to see for new ideas. They actually have to work, they have to be operating in the field, running, and we will do extensive kind of due diligence over the period of the competition on that. And I think our goal is really to showcase to the world what this new supply of carbon removal solutions can be. So last week we released the guidelines to the competition. That's the kind of document that we use to outline all the details about what you would need to do to compete to win the prize, how you'll be evaluated, what the timelines, deadlines are, and the requirements for your demonstration. So if you haven't seen that and you're interested in the competition, that would be the first place to start. You can go to the XPRIZE website. It's all over the homepage how to get into that document. So you should make it there easily. And then we're in this period that we call the public comment phase, where we are actually accepting feedback and questions and comments from people about the guidelines specifically. So we'd love for people to look at them and ask us questions or flag something that doesn't seem right. We developed the guidelines over the last while in consultation with many experts in carbon removal. We've held focus groups with people all over the world, experts on all of the different areas of carbon removal. So this is kind of, even though XPRIZE has released it, is already gone through quite extensive consultation with the community. So we feel like we've landed in on some good targets, and we are really curious to hear if people have other perspectives that, you know, haven't really come to bear on some of those questions. But definitely take a look at the guidelines, and there's a form that you can submit comments that we will be checking over the next month. And then we will kind of iterate on that and integrate any comments that are significant and release the final version of the guidelines over the summer. So that's kind of the first order of business for us, is getting that set so everybody knows what the targets are, what are we shooting for here. The next kind of piece is, if you want to compete in the prize, you know, you need to start working on your concept. We have kind of a mini competition within the main competition, which is a student-focused competition. So we want to really inspire the next generation of talent to work on carbon removal. So we have some money set aside that we're planning to award this year, up to $5 million for student-focused teams. So I call this out specifically because it's the first deadline on the map. And I think that's because we wanted to give students access to the seed capital they might need to get their ideas started. So in terms of the timeline, this year we have an October 1st deadline for student submissions. And then we'll be turning that money around pretty quickly in about a month. So this fall, that money will be awarded. And then the main registration deadline, if you're interested in competing in the prize and being eligible for the $15 million in milestone awards, that deadline is December 1st. So you have to officially go onto the website, create a team, sign up, say what you're going to be working on before December 1st. Then February 1st of 2022, that's the actual submission deadline to win the milestone award. So that's the $15 million that's eligible for teams in the first year of the competition. So that would wrap what I would call phase one of the competition, which is really the concept, proof of concept phase, where we're trying to get people started on their ideas. We want teams to submit as much information about their demonstrations or data that they've collected that does exist. And we want people who have new ideas to get started on them immediately. And then phase two is really the deep solution development phase of the competition. That's what we call it, when teams go and really dig deep into their technologies, their solutions, they start building their demonstrations. And that's going to run from, you know, years 2 through 4 of the competition. At some point in year 3 or 4, we will be visiting all of the kind of finalists at that stage, and we'll do measurement and verification visits, and we will collect a bunch of data. This is all of the information that we're going to collect throughout the competition that go to the independent judging panel. And they are the ones that actually get to make the decision about who gets the big checks at the end. We, XPRIZE, are the kind of administrators of the competition, but we don't make the decisions about kind of all of the specifics, you know, with the technologies and the solutions that are that are top rated. And so we leave that to our expert panel. So we remain a little bit unbiased in that sense, but it will be a great group of judges. We're just kind of in the early stages of recruiting them right now. And so if you're on this call and that's something that you think you'd be well suited for, also feel free to reach out. Those are usually deep experts with a number of years of experience on the topic. And so we, deeply vet all of our judging panel as well. Let me just say one other thing to clarify the point. So Paul mentioned like the gigaton goal. So I think for us, the way we think about it, to compete in this competition, we know that gigaton is far off for a lot of these technologies. That is a long-term goal. So I just want to clarify that it won't be during the duration of the competition that you have to get to kind of that scale. The way we think about it as there are a few different stages. So in the course of the competition, to compete and to be eligible to win, you have to build a working demonstration to capture to remove 1,000 tons of carbon in a year. Then we want to see your fully considered costs modeled out at what a megaton per year would look like. And then you need to be able to make a case of how you would scale sustainably to a gigaton into the future. So we think about like these 3 levels as kind of stepping stones. And so we want to be open here to new innovation. And we also know that there are a number of companies and startups and researchers out there already working in carbon removal solutions that have a head start. But don't let that deter you if you have a new idea, because we really want new innovation to come into this space. So there is kind of an open space for multiple people to compete who are starting at different points. So I just want to make that clear because we get that question a lot. Some people are already building like larger systems and carbon removal plants, and that doesn't mean that they are going to be the winners. They maybe have an advantage because they're already started, but we still want new innovation coming into the space. And if you have a new idea, you really should apply to get that $15 million milestone award. So that'll be 15 awards, $1 million each, and that will really help people kind of get that first demonstration off the ground. So I'll stop there. There's many things I could say, but that's kind of at a high level how we think about the prize. And I just want to mention I have Michael Leach on the call with me today, who is our technical lead on the prize. So if there are any questions later that come up, or you can put them in the chat, he is very helpful and can field some of those as well as I can as we go through. So thanks, Tito.
Awesome. Yes, I see Michael's been super active on the chat, so that's awesome. That is really good. I'm so glad this is real. It really does. Hearing you say all this stuff out loud, it really still sounds like a dream almost, right? Like, wow, this is all coming together. Carbon removal is a thing, and it's going to be a bigger thing in the years to come. Paul, you've been thinking a lot about and talking with us a lot about the kind of the structure and how this all comes together. Can you paint a picture of where AirMiners Launchpad fits in and how these 2 organizations are connecting?
Sure, and maybe as a segue from Nikki, I really appreciate the clarification on the 3 stepping stones, because I can get a bit carried away with gigatons, and you can tell I'm not the scientist. I mean, I want to kind of make it happen, and so I think this staging point. I mean, if you take us back to that kind of early stage for people kind of getting started, who've got some kind of emerging technologies or an idea and they want to be kind of part of a team that hasn't yet even formed. Where do you get started? How do you go from the idea and the passion to get moving so that you can kind of be part of this movement to build an industry? And so the intent with the AirMiners Launchpad, which I'm very happy to be helping with, is that the premise is if you're at the first square on the Monopoly board or the snakes and ladders board, you need to be able to get past the first square. So you need some help. But we want to do it in bite-sized chunks, not sign people up to kind of like whole degree programs or kind of something super long. So this is a 6-week envisaged as a 6-week program, which will be largely self-paced and web-based, so that people can kind of consume as much or as little as they want, but with a cadence of coming together kind of once a week for an hour around discussion on particular themes, some key speakers, kind of like outputs on some of the things that we'll work on around market sizing, team formation, etc. So the idea is that for people at the very early stage, they'll be able to kind of go from first square on the board to beyond the first square. And then in parallel, they'll feel more confident and ready to apply for, to register for XPRIZE, and to also take advantage of programs like CDL Climate and so on. So, you know, this is going to be a multi-stage, multi-year play. This is about getting started. It's your launchpad.
Beautiful. Well said, Paul. Yeah, it's something that we've been, like I mentioned, we've been thinking about and planning over the past year. We'll have more details to come as the program goes live. Paul, did you have?
Yeah. I was just going to add, actually, Tito. I thought a little bit like kind of Nikki and XPRIZE are taking, they are taking feedback through the summer on the criteria for the grand prize. And the intent here is that roughly once every 3 months, once a quarter, we'll start a new intake of this 6 weeks program. And so you can think about over the next 4 years, we're going to try and run this kind of 15 or 20 times. So it's going to evolve, and it's partly going to evolve from the feedback we get from the people who kind of take part in it. I mean, it'll get better because of you on the call, and those of you that help us make it better. So we're deliberately being a little flexible about it, and in turn, then the CDL runs on an annual cadence, and so there'll be this kind of, hopefully there'll be this flow through of people that make progress in the Launchpad that are applying to XPRIZE, but can be advanced and de-risked by the CDL process. That's how the three organizations are envisaging playing together.
I love it. Yeah, and it's been, speaking of feedback, it's been great to have people checking out the website already and sending me questions and comments and stuff like that. It's very much an iterative process. We're going to figure out how to help early stage companies get started. Let's see. I see somebody asked about the website in the chat. It's launchpad.airminers.org, and you can check it out there. Paul, that was really, it's been great working with you on fleshing out this program, mapping this program. Nikki as well. It's been great to talk with you about the development of the prize, about your experience on the past prizes. Can you talk a bit about why it's valuable for teams coming into this prize to be a part of the Launchpad?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm really excited about Launchpad because I think we've seen, this be a big need in the past for people competing on XPRIZes. A lot of times people come to the table and they have an idea, but they haven't really taken it to the next step, either of figuring out how that can be a functioning business or how they are going to kind of really scale up, even to the level to compete in the prize. But really, the prize is just a gateway into the future market. And so for us, it's really important that people are thinking long-term. Like we at XPRIZE, the thing that makes us different is it's not about ideas, it's about having to actually build and show that a thing works. And I think that's like what we value. But the prize model is interesting because a lot of the money and the reward comes at the end. So that means that people who are going to compete in the prize and take on this huge challenge really need to be able to raise money in the earlier stages before they would potentially be the winner of the prize. That means that, if you're going to go out there and start pitching investors and talking to funders, you have to have a fully baked idea ready to go, and a business model and a revenue stream, or however you're thinking about scaling this, technical or scientific idea. It needs to go to the next step. So having, a thought partner and a group like Creative Destruction Labs behind that to really help the thinking and really the early stage conception of an idea and how it's all going to come together will be very valuable, and especially in a new space like carbon removal. There are so many ideas that have yet to be tried, and I think we are really grateful for the fact that there is, supportive programming to help people who want to compete in the prize to get them to the next stage and, go through all of the different steps that kind of Paul was talking about. The other thing I would kind of just mention is that, a lot of times we see people who are really passionate and want to get involved, but then also don't know how or where to kind of put their effort. And that's fine. Everybody doesn't have to be the one with the big idea. Everybody needs eventually to recruit a whole team and to get a functioning system together with different expertise. And so, maybe join forces with other people through a program like Launchpad, could be your way in. I think I'll also just mention, like, we have a ton of teams signing up on the carbon removal website for XPRIZE already. I think we have over 90 fully registered teams, which is probably the fastest we've ever gotten that high, which is great. But we also have teams, and they haven't gone the next step. And that's probably because they're missing partners, they're missing funding, they're missing all of the things that you need to really get your idea to a functioning state. So I think, there's a huge opportunity here to really, like, if you want to get into the carbon removal space, to really try and meet people through the AirMiners community, to go browse through the teams on the XPRIZE Carbon Removal webpage. And there's even a function that we have that says for teams that are like open to recruiting team members, and you can like message them and try and like apply to join their team. So that's one way you can do it. But I think in general, all of these early stage supporting infrastructure pieces are very important to getting to the goal that Tito was kind of describing, the vision, the mission, what we're all trying to accomplish in the world. And we're still in early stages in a lot of cases.
Yeah, I love that view that as you're looking across this 4-year competition, you're able to see just, not just one solution or one company, but you're able to see the people that join those companies, the people that start the companies, and just kind of this flow of people towards this goal of enabling large scale, gigaton scale carbon removal. I love that. Paul, do you have any other thoughts to throw in here?
I think basically, don't be shy. You're here for a reason, because you care about something that matters. And so this is, these are ways to get involved. There's a support network here, and having 100 people on this call alone is just hearing Nikki talk about 1,500 people who are interested. And you've got support, and don't give up. We'll be looking back here in 1 year and in 4 years' time, and we'll have created kind of emerging companies, and we'll be changing the world.
I love it. Thank you both for being here today and for all that you do. Thanks to the audience, everybody who's participating and will be a part of this as it no doubt continues and grows. I love that. Just a couple closing notes for the key dates that Nikki and Paul covered. If you go to the XPRIZE website for the XPRIZE dates, I also have a couple of the dates that for XPRIZE, CDL, and Launchpad up on the About page. So it's launchpad.airminers.org/about if you want to catch up on some more of those. But overall, really looking forward to working with all of you on this, whether you have an idea, whether you're already working on it, whether you're in search of an idea, or whether you're happy to watch, watch as this all grows. Really, really excited for the future of this. Also, as I mentioned, we're open to hiring a fund manager for our upcoming investment fund. And if you're an LP, feel free to reach out. There's another tab on the website for that. And with that, I want to invite you to the upcoming AirMiners conference on May 5th. That's next Wednesday. It's kind of our big show of the year. We've got incredible speakers talking about creating ideas, creating companies, creating an industry. So go to conference.airminers.org for that. And as well as a follow-up to this event, we're going to have kind of more of a team recruitment focused event on May 19th at noon Pacific time with Nikki, Paul, and I. And this is going to be more of a deep dive for teams, for people who are applying, for people who are thinking about applying, who have questions. So we're going to be sending that invite out over Eventbrite. So if you signed up for this event, you'll get an email with details for that. Otherwise, you can check the events.airminers.org events website, and that'll go up shortly. Thank you all for coming. We're going to switch over to networking now. So we're going to do some breakout groups. Thank you, Paul. Thank you, Nikki. And thank you all for being here.